I don't know why I'm doing this. That's the honest answer. My granddaughter set this up. The camera, the little light that blinks when it's recording. She said, "Grandpa, just talk." And then she left the room, which I think was kind of her, because I couldn't have done this with someone watching. My name is Walter Hess. I'm 89 years old to see what you passed. And I passed something. I passed the last good day of my life without knowing it was the last good day. I didn't mark it. I didn't even notice it, really. It came, it was ordinary, and then it was gone, and everything after it was a little different, a little harder, a little more absence than presence. I've been thinking about that day for 2 years now. I was born in 1936 in a small house outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. My father worked at a mill. My mother kept a garden that she talked to when she thought no one was listening. I had 2 brothers, Paul and Jean. Paul died in 1987. Jean died in 2019. I am the last one, and I am not sure what to do with that. We were not a family that said much. That's important for you to understand, because it explains almost everything that comes later. We sat at tables together, and we ate, and we nodded, and sometimes we laughed, but we didn't excavate. We didn't go looking inside things. You felt what you felt, and you carried it, and that was the arrangement. I thought that was normal for a long time, longer than I should have. I married Eleanor in 1961. She was 24. I was 25. She had dark hair, and she laughed at things that weren't quite jokes yet, before they finished forming. She had that gift. She could find the funny before it arrived. We had 51 years together before she died. 51 years is a long time to share a life with someone and still not know what they needed from you. I want to sit with that sentence for a second, because it surprised me when I said it, and I think that's the truest sign that it's real. Eleanor got sick in 2009. Not dramatically. That's not how it came. It came slowly, the way cold comes into a house through old windows. You don't notice the draft until you've been sitting in it for an hour and you're shivering and you don't know exactly when it started. She was tired. Then she was more tired. Then there were doctors, and then more doctors, and then a word I don't need to say because you already know the kind of word it was. And I want to tell you something about those years, 2009 to 2012, the years she was sick and then sicker. I was present. I was there. I drove her to appointments. I made the meals she could eat. I held her hand in waiting rooms with bad lighting and magazines from 4 months ago. I was physically, bodily there. But I was also somewhere else. I was managing. I was organizing. I was keeping the structure up because I thought that was what a person did. You hold the structure. You don't crumble. You be useful. I don't know if Eleanor needed me to crumble a little, to sit with her in the feeling of it, not beside the feeling of it. I never asked, she never said, and now there's no way to find out. The last good day. I've tried to find it in my memory for 2 years now, and I think it was in October of 2011. I think it was a Tuesday, though I'm not certain on that. Eleanor was having one of her better stretches. She had color that week. She had gotten up and sat in the kitchen in the morning with her coffee, which she hadn't done in a while, and she was looking out the window at the yard. The leaves were doing what they do in October in Pennsylvania. I was at the counter doing something, making a list maybe, something practical, something that felt important enough to look down at instead of looking at her. She said, "Walter, isn't this nice?" And I said, or something like that, an acknowledgement without weight. and then I kept doing whatever I was doing. She sat there another 20 minutes, maybe, and then she got tired and she went back to lie down. That's it. That's the whole memory. It doesn't sound like much, but she died 14 months later, and that morning, that October morning with the coffee and the leaves and the light coming through, I think that might have been the last time she felt something close to well, the last time things were quiet and warm at the same time. And I was making a list. I have no idea what the list was for. I told this to my daughter Carol about a year after Eleanor passed. We were sitting in Carol's kitchen, and I don't know how it came up, but I told her about the October morning, about what Eleanor said, about what I did. Carol got very still, and she said, "Dad, she probably just wanted you to sit down." 4 words. She probably just wanted you to sit down. I've been living inside those 4 words for 7 years. It's not guilt, exactly. I want to be careful about what I call it. Guilt feels too clean. Guilt has an edge to it, a shape. What I carry is more like a question that keeps getting heavier, because I don't know what would have happened if I had put the list down, if I had carried my coffee to that table and sat across from her and looked at the leaves with her and said, "Yes, it is nice." Maybe nothing. Maybe it would have been 2 minutes of quiet, and then she would have gone to lie down anyway. Or maybe that's the morning she would have told me something she never told me. I don't know. I'll never know. And the not knowing is the whole weight of it. People talk about regret like it's about the big things, the jobs you didn't take, the places you didn't go. And maybe for some people it is. For me, it's October mornings. It's the small, ordinary moments that I didn't know were anything at all while they were happening. Eleanor and I had a good life. I want to say that plainly. We had a good life, and I loved her. That's true. But love doesn't automatically mean presence. You can love someone thoroughly and still be somewhere else inside the room with them. I know that now. I learned it too slowly and too late, the way you learn most important things. There was a version of me that could have sat down that morning. I don't know where that version went. I don't think he was ever far away. I think he just kept waiting for a moment that felt more significant, more clearly marked as the moment to stop and be still. And the moments kept coming, and they never announced themselves. They just looked like ordinary Tuesdays. After Eleanor died, the house was very quiet. I know that sounds obvious, but I don't mean it obviously. I mean there was a kind of quiet I wasn't prepared for. Not the absence of sound, but the absence of her particular weight in the rooms, the way a space knows the difference between empty and inhabited. I would walk into the kitchen in the morning, and it would take me a second to orient, like a small confusion between what my body expected and what was actually there. That confusion lasted about a year. Now I just know she's not there, and that's a different kind of thing entirely. I kept the garden going, her garden. For 3 years I kept it going. I talked to it a little the way she used to, though I felt foolish. I don't know if I was doing it for her or for me. Probably for me. Most things you think you're doing for other people, you're doing for yourself. I've noticed that. I stopped the garden in 2015. My knees made the decision. My grandson, Thomas, Carol's youngest, came to visit last spring. He's 31. He's in that part of life where everything feels like it's about to begin, which is a good place to be, and I didn't want to say anything to disturb it. We sat outside because it was warm enough, and he asked me something that nobody had asked me in a long time. He said, "Grandpa, what was Grandma like? Not the facts. What was she actually like?" I sat with that question for a while. I said, "She could find the funny before it arrived." He smiled. He didn't know that about her. And then I didn't say anything else for a while. because I was thinking about how much of her I'd kept inside myself without realizing it, how she lives in the ways I describe her, in the phrases that still come when someone finally asks the right question. That was a good afternoon. That was one of the last good afternoons I can think of where I was paying attention the whole time. I'm 89 years old, and I know what I know, which is not very much.